Hey, good evening. It's BourbonBlog.com. As you all know, I'm a big fan of Teeling in Dublin, and the person I'm a big fan of course, is Alex Chasko. He's the master distiller, joining us live from Dublin. Thanks for staying up tonight, joining us, and we're going to be tasting some great whiskey. It's good to have you back on the show.
It's great to be back. Yeah, from a frozen, cold Dublin. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was freezing out there, literally.
Yes, and really to help us warm up. Like I said, I haven't even cracked this. I feel very honored to have a sample of the 32-year-old Purple Muscat. I'm about to crack it. You've been doing some old whiskeys each year. This is very, very limited. Tell me. I'm just going to begin to pour it here and nose it. Tell me what we have here.
What we have is we've got a 32-year-old single malt, right? Mm-hmm. And the basic question that we were trying to answer with this whiskey was, what do you do when you've won the world's best? How do you try and top that, right? What can you pull out of the hat next? And so a couple years ago, we won world's best with our 24-year-old. And delighted to do that with that whiskey. That was in a Sauterne cask, right? So the whiskey had a light sort of smokiness to it. People might remember that one as very, very good whiskey. And we thought, okay, we've done that. Now what do we do? Where do you go next? And I remember sitting down, we had this meeting, and we were saying, like, okay, we've got some stock still that isn't in the Sauterne cask, right? We have a couple years, right? We don't have to do anything right now, but what are we going to do to try and make it better, right? How are we going to try and one up the world's best? Right. And that's what you have in front of you right now. Is this? We went to the same supplier, a guy named Marco, who supplied us with those Sauterne casks all those years ago. We said, Marco, you kind of got something good there with the Sauterne casks, right? What would you recommend to follow it up with? And he said, Purple Muscat. And we said, what the hell is that? And Purple Muscat is a dessert wine, right? Comes from Portugal. So it comes actually the south side of Lisbon, of the Bay of Lisbon. Setúbal is the area. They make Muscat out of Muscat grapes. And it's got a purple sort of green color to the skins of the grape. Okay. And so that's what purple comes from with it. And sometimes the wine can have a purple color to it also. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not that popular or well known of a fortified wine, but it's some lovely stuff. And so we got our hands on these casks, and we put some of the 1990 single malt in there, and the rest is magic after that, really.
This is just, I just had a touch. I mean, again, what we're looking at is a 32-year-old single malt. How long was it in the Purple Muscat?
You're talking about probably 4 years.
4 years. So it was in there for a while.
Oh, definitely.
With this finish. Prior to that, it was in
bourbon casks.
So it was already just extremely old. This has so many layers to it. This is I'm getting this old note, but it's also extremely soft. That the mouthfeel is
There's a real light floral fruitiness there to it. There's a real jam, jelly kind of soft richness there. Honey sweetness. It's an amazing. It's a very good whiskey, and really an honor to be able to take a whiskey that's that old and to try and have an influence on it at the very end.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, when you're tasting something this old, how do you recommend that we taste it? I mean, I'm just having a couple tiny sips, but just to experience it fully. When you're
I would recommend tasting it neat. I definitely wouldn't put ice in with it. When you put ice into a whiskey, that deadens the nose, and I think that this has got an amazing, beautiful nose. You could add a little bit of water to it. It is at the higher ABV there. I actually don't have a bottle of it myself anymore. I think it's around 52%.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, 52%. So it is a little higher.
Yeah.
But just
it probably could take a little drop of water in there if you wanted to.
Water.
Yeah.
And then just holding it in my mouth just to get all those layers.
Yeah,
They've been
exactly.
sitting there for so long. This 32-year-old, this came from, tell us about its life.
It's life. Wow. Well, I think it started out in a place that was very different in the world of Irish whiskey, right? You go back to the 90s, right? Ireland at that time was still in the troubles, right? The Irish whiskey industry itself was definitely pre-boom, right? So it's you're talking about a time and a place where Ireland was very different than it is pre-Celtic Tiger. You've got a lot of those people still looking at Irish whiskey as like an old man's drink that was very rough, right? That wasn't appreciated by the world's masses. Jameson hadn't become a thing yet, right? And so I think that's really interesting with whiskey. You can go into a glass and you can physically taste a distillate that has come from a different time, right? And that's what I think is pretty cool about that whiskey, is that you can actually experience, when the Irish whiskey industry was on its knees, right? When nobody was interested in Irish whiskey, what were they doing? And what they were doing was they were making really great single malt. They were really making some lovely single malt, which has had time to age in those casks. I'll admit, as a young sprightly gentleman myself, right? I didn't have anything to do with the original production of that whiskey, but I had the joy of coming in at the last relay, right, at the last leg.
That's right.
And to say, you know what? Yeah, I think we should put it in purple Muscat casks. And then after, I think it was about 12, maybe 15 months, going up to the warehouse and tasting that whiskey and being like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. This is really great stuff. And then internally within the company championing the whiskey and trying to say, like, we have to release this. We need to get this out of there. This is too good.
And just knowing that torch is being handed off to you, as you said, you came in at the end, at the last part of it, how do I transform this? To know that it's gone through the barrels and the hands it has, and then to be able to put that out there. I mean, this is it is time travel, and then it brings us into this time.
Yeah.
And I love that about this and about what you've done here. This is just so it's so nuanced, and it hits with warmth and spice, and then it becomes soft, and then it like you mentioned, it has that jam and that jelly towards the end. I mean, the Muscat was I think really well played here. This is Had you done much with Muscat before, or had you had many?
No, well, we had and we hadn't. We'd done some with
a lot of experiments
and with Portuguese Muscat, and so we had a bit of an idea. But to be fair, it really was going back to Marco and saying, Marco, what would you recommend? You're the guy who seems to have the magic touch with sourcing these casks. You know what we're looking for, right? What would and taking that risk and saying to a supplier, okay, we're going to buy, we don't need many, right? I think we only have 5 in total. This is 1, right? So this is 1 of 5 single casks that's all we've got in the warehouse. It is 1 single cask. It is limited. I think off the top of my head, it's like 186 bottles or something like that, only coming out to the United States.
Only about 186. There were several hundred, like 283 total, but only about 186 came to the U.S. So again, it's out. There may be some models out there. They may be spoken for. The cool thing is you do so many releases that we can find, and we're going to try another one of those in a moment. But there will be in the future, if you didn't get your hands on this one, there'll be some other rare releases, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the great things about the Teeling Whiskey Company, is that we're always coming out with something new. I think the modern consumer is like looking for, what do you got that's new? And even when you have something that's new, even when you're like, this right here is new, they're like, okay, that's great. What do you got that's new? And you're like, no, that was new.
Well, the number of experiments that you all have done, again, and I'll say we have a whole story up on BourbonBlog about this whiskey, a review. Obviously, we want everyone to follow Teeling Whiskey .com so they can check out everything new that you're doing. But the number of experiments that you all have always done, it's massive. I mean, you're always playing with new casks. You probably have a lot of things just aging right now, don't you?
Oh, we've got over 200 different cask types in the warehouse at the moment. Yeah. Everything from different vermouths and schnapps to aquavit and different fortified wines, beers, all sorts of different stuff, and different wood types. We've got this new Wonders of Wood series where we're taking pot still whiskey and exploring the influence of different woods on Irish pot still. We've got the Explorer series, which is out. That's new. That's a travel retail. If you get a hands on one of those, it's lovely. That's got a South American hardwood. I forget the name of it. Anyways, we've got loads of new things. Like I was talking to a distiller friend there over the summer, and he was saying, "Oh, we came out with like loads of new whiskeys this year. I think we got 8." And I was like, 8? Like, I think we're more like 45 that we've come out with.
You've done those in different places for travel, for distillery. Tell us about this. And I'm going to be tasting it soon too. The Chinkapin. We talked about Chinkapin.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, last time it was just coming out. This was the new thing, and now this is the old new thing. Yeah, get a good look at that for people there.
The Chinkapin. Yeah,
that's won the world's best single pot single pot still whiskey. If I can get the words out of my mouth.
Beautiful. What is it? Remind us what the Chinkapin is, and
so Chinkapin is an American white oak, but it's not Quercus alba. It's a little bit different. For me, flavor-wise, this is like the bridge between European oak and American oak. So it doesn't have that vanilla, right, that you get from your Alba, right, that would have like, well known in bourbon. It has more of a coffee, sort of toffee, earthy richness to it. But there's a spice also. And the spice goes great with pot still. Pot still has that spiciness from the use of malted and unmalted barley, and Chinkapin wood just pairs up beautifully with that.
And again, it's 50% malted, 50% unmalted.
And just for fun and games, bottled at 50% also.
And bottled at 50%. I hear it has this gingerbread spice, some nice sweetness.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to crack it open and give it a nose myself here.
Yeah. Tell us. And this is one that, again, as you're looking for last minute Christmas gifts, there's several we're going to be talking about. This is one you might be able to find. This is not quite as rare as the 32-year-old, right?
No, there's a couple thousand bottles floating around there as opposed to a couple hundred, right? Although what's happened now, so this came out in Europe early, and because of shipping and supply problems with the U.S., it got delayed in coming out to the United States, and it's sold out in Europe now. You can't get it. Actually, the only place that you can buy that is in the United States.
So you can possibly find a little bit in the U.S. So be watching for that. This one goes for roughly, looks like the suggested retail price is $99 on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say around $100. Yeah,
around $100. You can look for it. This is how old again did you have this?
So we're talking about a 5 to 7 year old single pot still. Been 100% matured in Chinkapin, virgin Chinkapin casks. The Chinkapin casks are native to the Appalachian mountain range in the United States. They're sort of the scrub oak, if you will. They're a smaller, thinner tree.
Right.
Grows right along with Alba, and would have been used in the past for rye, right? So people might be familiar with this wood and this flavor profile coming from some of those lovely rye bottles that you have behind your
yes. So it has been used. Yes.
Yeah.
The rye. It has been used in the past for rye, but probably that was in more of the past. Though I don't know.
Yeah, but it hasn't been used for Irish.
For Irish.
So that's where the real innovation for us comes from, right? For me, innovation isn't like going out and cutting down the last tree in Antarctica, right? It's not like finding Fabergé eggs and like crushing them up and adding it to the whiskey or whatever, right? It's about, taking something that other people have done and another, for wine or for another spirit or for, beer or something else, right? And applying it to Irish whiskey in a way that seems to make sense as far as the flavor. And for us, that bridge was the spice. We knew that the Chinkapin wasn't going to have the vanilla and the honey that you would get with your typical American white oak, right? We knew that it would have this gingerbread, coffee spiciness, right? And we thought, you know what, that actually would go pretty well with pot still, because pot still in the past has tended to be sherry casks, right? And it's tended to have that distinctive spiciness, right?
Amazing. So again, look for the Chinkapin. All the experiments you're hearing about. These may indeed be some that are a little tougher to find, but you may be able to find this one. But it just, what we're here to do is just honor and taste the interesting experiments, and really such a distillery that has such a vision for really pushing the envelope and doing something new. And I was lucky enough to be there for your opening week 7 years ago in Dublin.
Near 7 years ago.
7 years. I'm going to hopefully come back and see you next year. Really enjoyed it from the very beginning. Tell us how it's evolved, even from the beginning. Your flagship launches were, rum cask. It's still, we love the small batch and the the flagships. But how has everything evolved there? And
like that whole search or that quest for something new that consumers are doing, we as whiskey makers are doing that too, right? So that 7 years for us has really been trying to push the boundaries, push the norms, take Irish whiskey on a bit of a journey flavor-wise, right? And to say like, okay, yes, Irish whiskey can be light, sweet, approachable, right? But it can also do other things, right? And let's try and see what the influence of casks can be, right? I think we've done a great job of that over the last 7-8 years, right? Like you said, through rum casks, through sherry and port and other things that like would be maybe pushing it out there a bit more with the weird and wonderful sort of stuff. But then we haven't just been satisfied with like, okay, we're going to use, a weird cask that no one has ever heard of before, right? We're going to start looking at raw materials. So we're going to start using specialty malt. We're going to start using rye. We're going to start using other raw materials and other yeasts and try and create a real spectrum, a rainbow, if you will, of different flavors. And so when you get people that come to you and they're like, oh, what do you have that's new, right? That's the start of the conversation for us. Right. That's what we can handle what's new, and then we can start saying, okay, well, what do you like, right? Yes, there's the new, but like, do you like spicy whiskey? Do you like sweet whiskey? Do you like particularly old whiskey? Do you like single malt, right? Where do you want to go from here? And we can explore this wonderful world now of Irish whiskey that's out there.
And that's what they're doing. And of course, if you have plans from wherever you're watching us from, we appreciate everyone watching BourbonBlog tonight. Tell us down below, in fact, tell us where you're watching from, and maybe even throw in there. I have a good feeling most of all of you have had some Teeling. Tell us one of your favorite expressions, maybe one that you're going to be having over the holidays. Tell us down below on Facebook or tweet us back. I know there's so many Teeling fans just like me. If you are going to be visiting Dublin, the experience is something else, right? And you're getting more and more visitors lately, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's been great. What's been really amazing is you make this whiskey and you send it out there to the world, right? And we're in 60 different countries around the world. But then to have people from around the world come and to visit us in Dublin and to say, like, I love your whiskey and I'm looking for the new thing that you've got. It's been great to go on this journey. That's been amazing. It's been amazing to see Americans come, right? And people from all over the world who come and make a stop in Dublin and have a whiskey and maybe have an Irish coffee in the Bang Bang bar and tell us about how things are going. Yeah,
a lot of Americans recently before in the fall. You've had a lot of
Definitely. Yeah. The strong dollar has been good for us. And I think there's been a lot of that sort of pent up demand of people wanting to get out after COVID. And yeah, there's been a good amount of Americans coming over. We had a big football game there to start off the college football season. Who were Nebraska and Northwestern, I think it was.
Yeah.
Were there. I have to admit, I didn't go. And being an Oregon man, I didn't go see Northwestern play. But yeah, it was great to get people into the distillery, to give people an excuse to come over to see us in Dublin, see a real live working distillery too, right? Like it's not a museum piece. We're actually making whiskey.
You're doing it
7 days a week. There's
it's happening.
Guys there right now working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that too. When you can go, there's some experiences you can go in around the world, but now what we really treasure, the distilleries that show us the real live working distilleries, and it's happening around you, and you can smell it, you can taste it, you can see it.
Yeah, you feel the heat.
Powerful.
You can, yeah, exactly.
You feel the heat. That's right. You can feel the heat of the kitchen. You sure
Yeah.
can. I just poured a little bit of your lovely single malt. This one, again, if you for some reason, if you can't find the 32, or you're just like, hey, I want to try some single malt, this is another great one to grab as you're celebrating the holidays this week.
I think it goes brilliant with the Christmas and New Year's celebrations. One of my best memories is sitting in a hotel on the west coast of Ireland with my father New Year's a few years ago, and just sitting down and having a nice Teeling single malt in an oversized chair. And I don't even know what we were talking about, but it was just so great to have that experience, right, with a lovely fruity single malt that's got a nice caramel toffee rich flavor going on there. Yeah,
the layers of this are beautiful. I've always been a big fan of this one. It goes into sherry, port, Madeira, white Burgundy, and Cabernet Sauvignon, right?
Yeah, very good.
These five casks it goes into. What happens? Tell us about the process.
Yeah, so some of them are fully matured and some of them are finishes, right? But it's all about trying to have those layers of flavor, right? To have that, I call it a tropical fruit nose. There's sort of like a fruit roll up, if you will, leathered fruits on the nose there. And then to have that backed up with some nice spice coming from the Madeira cask and from the port cask. And then we've got a nice rich caramel toffee finish on it that's just really satisfying. It's a great single malt on its own. And then, I get the joy of going around the world and meeting people and drinking this whiskey. And there was a guy in Sarasota, Florida, who was serving me a daiquiri made from that single malt. And yeah. It was pretty amazing.
Could work. The just that light kind of smoke underneath the caramel. How was that? What did he just make a regular daiquiri, or how did that?
I thought I was drinking a regular daiquiri.
Yeah.
I thought like, why is this guy? I'll drink the daiquiri, sure. Like, why not? But like, why am I drinking? And then after one of them, I was like, can I get a cocktail with Teeling in it? And he's like, no, that was made with the single malt. And I'm like,
oh,
huh?
He was really trying to trick you just to see if you'd know, and then
yeah, I'll admit
wow.
I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting, Irish single malt really doesn't have any place in a Hemingway daiquiri, but like it was gorgeous.
So really, you could take this, you could put it into a daiquiri. Obviously, great by itself, great on an ice cube, but I'm sure with the complexity of flavors like this, there are some great cocktail possibilities. Any other cocktails you've made or you've seen made with it?
Specifically with the single malt? Oh, yeah, there was in Texas. I was doing a talk in Texas a number of years ago, and all these margaritas came out on this tray. And I was like, what? Who ordered 30 margaritas? What jackass ordered? And then they had to explain, no, we're sorry. Like the welcome cocktail didn't turn out right. This is oh, great. Okay, so I was looking at this going like, this is a margarita. Like this isn't made with it. And it was made with the Teeling single malt. But like, when in Texas, right? I guess you're drinking margaritas. Like
Makes sense. And how was that? Was that good too?
Yeah, it was good. I was drinking it. I'm like, this is nice. And then I kind of realized, I guess it's just sort of like a whiskey sour without the foam. Like, yeah, all right. I guess so. Yeah.
You've inspired so many, whether it's Texas, Florida. I mean, people are taking this and they can run with it and do something.
Yeah. And you can have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're right that complexity of flavors and that depth really plays to people being able to do what they want to do with it. And if you just want to sit back on a cold winter's night and enjoy it neat, that's perfectly acceptable. And if you want to try and get crazy with it, hey, why not?
Yeah. Well, maybe obviously I love it on a cold winter's night. I like the classic element of the whiskey, but I might just try it with a bourbon cocktail, like an old fashioned. Maybe I'll try that this week. I'll let you know how it.
The pot still goes great with an old fashioned. Our regular, our straight up pot still, and you don't need to have any kind of fancy, rhubarb bitters or anything like that. Just straight simple syrup and the Angostura or whatever kind of bitters you got.
So much to look forward to. I know more releases. I'm sure in 2023 that we probably can't even talk about yet, but that are going to be old, new, different, along with your core collection, right?
There's some great things coming up that we're really looking forward to. Yeah.
Yes, and we'll definitely we'll have Alex back on. And again, so many good people. Appreciate everyone liking this video, sharing it. Thanks for following us wherever you're watching us from. Appreciate all the Teeling fans. And again, follow us if you're not already following us, and make sure you're also following Teeling Whiskey. All right. So of all these, or of all your collection, what's going to be your like your Christmas Eve long winter night for this weekend?
My Christmas whiskey. I don't know. For me, like it's so personal, thing, right? Like I really have a strange, eclectic collection of spirits. And for me, I think it's really more of the people that are making them, and one of them that I definitely hold close to my heart is the 24-year-old winning the world's best single malt. I probably will have one or two of those, but we did the one with the plantation pineapple rum. And that was an amazing whiskey. So I probably will have I'll probably try and sneak some sort of fruity drink into a cocktail with my wife there and see if she realizes that she's actually drinking mostly Irish whiskey.
You're gonna play that same trick and see if she knows it. And hey, the 20. You're gonna have that 20. You're gonna have the 24 on the 24th. That makes sense.
There you go. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's made for
It's made for Christmas Eve,
right? That's Santa's whiskey.
That's right. That's right. The question is, what day is the 32?
Yeah.
If you've been partying too many days, then it's
New Year's Day.
Yeah,
that's
a party that never ends.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is it's always a good party with you, Alex. Chatting with you, tasting with you. Thanks for taking some time on this special week to join us here, coming live from Dublin, from Teeling. Alex Chasko. I'm Tom Fischer here at BourbonBlog.
Tom, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. It's great to see everybody. Thanks for having us be part of the show.
Thank you so much, everybody. Cheers, and cheers to Teeling.
Thanks.